got a lot of good news coming out about AMD lately, and this one happens to be concerning the PlayStation 5, which is something that we reported on a couple of weeks ago where we speculated whether or not the PS5 would have Zen Plus and Navi architecture with it, because there is that one website that charges a $1,000 paywall for you to actually be able to access the information, saying that this year or even early 2019 is when we're actually going to see the new PS5 equipped with all this brand new architecture. However, there is some new news that could actually give bigger breadth, more life, tons more hype to the speculation rather about all of this. So this is an article coming out from Hot Hardware saying TSMC's 7nm chips hit volume production and could power Sony's PlayStation 5. So TSMC is a manufacturing company that actually produces the chips that AMD uses for their CPUs and GPUs. And in fact, we just did a video about how Global Foundries is talking about how their 7nm process is going to give us 5 gigahertz on basically Zen 2. I mean, that's not what they said, but you can extrapolate data, and that's the idea that we're getting. However, it also looks like not only is Global Foundries looking to hit mass production for their 7nm chips in 2019, it looks like TSMC is ready to do that as well, which is some good information for everybody who's been looking forward to generational leaps, because it looks like it's going to be a lot more popular. So now, in case you're wondering, we're talking about TSMC and Global Foundries in this whole instance of, AMD's chips. And a lot of people would think, why are there two different companies that are producing AMD's chips? Well, AMD actually talked about this back in January. Lisa Su stated in an article that right now, because at the time Global Foundries, I think it was the 12nm or the 14nm architecture that they were developing, wasn't good enough that they could depend on Global Foundries alone, so they had to bring up TSMC, whereas in the past, AMD was always known for using one foundry. At this point, they're going to be using two. So it looks like Global Foundries and TSMC are the way going forward for either way of their productions. We just don't have a good indication of how they're going to break that up, what type of percentage we're going to see of TSMC and Global Foundries go to Zen 2 production or Vega 7nm production, because that's one of the other interesting things that we had. So we're expecting Navi to be on PlayStation 5 for us to get that, for us to get a whole, nice setup of new architecture. But then at the same time, we're not hearing a whole lot of rumors. The only thing that we're hearing is that we're getting Vega 7nm. But if the Vega 7nm is doing what it's supposed to be, which is supposed to be a test of the production from Global Foundries, then that would allow us to know that AMD is actually looking at producing Navi sometime in 2019. They're going to skip over a Vega refresh for the desktop, and it could be very well, because of the huge market that is in consoles, them producing Navi for a PlayStation 5 first would make a whole lot more sense financially, because they would make a lot more quick money off of that with the licensing deals with Sony and Microsoft to actually produce those consoles, and then they can just hold off on selling the RX 580s and the Vega cards right now to miners at jacked up prices, because that's just what they can do. And so if they can hold off, make as much money as possible on the desktop side of things without actually having to innovate, that's probably what they're going to do, which is the whole thing that we had with the price collusion with Samsung, Micron, and Hynix, is the fact that they're making a whole lot more off their bottom line because they're not actually needing to innovate. Like, if people are going to buy at the high price, why would I sell more at a lower price? It just doesn't make any sense. So let's take the easier route instead of the harder one. Anyways, let's get back to the articles that we have. So this is an interview with a non-tech, just like the one from Global Foundries was from a non-tech, this one from TSMC is also here. So the title of the interview is TSMC kicks off volume production of 7nm chips. So if we look at the chart that a non-tech has included on this article, we can see the power, performance, and area reduction that we're getting with each type of die shrink. So from the 16nm FinFET Plus to 10nm FinFET, we were getting a 40% power increase and 40% power decrease and a 20% performance uplift. 16nm FinFET Plus to 7nm FinFET gives us 60% power reduction with a 30% bump in performance and a 70% decrease in die size. So that's one of the most impressive things that I think we can look at for the 7nm production from TSMC, is the fact that we are getting such smaller chips and also able to actually outperform what we currently have. So this brings the rumor of, Navi is going to launch with 1080-like performance for $250, which is a rumor that's possible, but at the same time, if the die sizes are 70% smaller, then you can fit two of them on there a lot easier, which is the idea that we're supposed to be getting with Navi. We're supposed to be getting Infinity Fabric, quote unquote, for GPUs, where two GPUs can actually merge together and act as one, just like we're seeing on Ryzen, where we have two CPU core complexes acting as one CPU, because it's not an 8-core CPU, it's two 4-core CPUs. On the GPU side of things, if they have Vega 56 performance and a Vega, well, actually it'd be 64 because 64 is like 1080. So if we have a Vega 64 performance with a Vega 64 performance, you put those together, you don't get Vega 64 crossfired, which is only like, 40 to 50% scaling in most games at best. Probably not supported in the rest of them. It's actually, we're getting a Vega 128. That would be the equivalent. Obviously, there's going to be some issues with the latency of these GPUs communicating with each other, because doing it over a new bandwidth would obviously reduce the amount of time or increase the amount of time that they have to talk to each other and slow things down. So it's not going to be 100% scaling, but I would guess that it's going to be 90 to 95%. And as we see this develop, it would be a good thing. So the only thing that I'm really skeptical about here with the PlayStation 5 launch is, one, the timing of it. I would think that this is coming 2019 at the earliest. Like, we're going to see Christmas 2019. That's the general time frame that we'll get this. But then at the same time, I think that with the type of reduction that we're seeing in die size, the type of power increase that we're seeing, and the type of or the power decrease, the power consumption decrease that we're seeing, and then the performance increase that we're seeing, we could get a PlayStation 5 that rivals probably some of the best PC builds that are on the market right now. You have the Xbox One X. It's going to absolutely blow this thing out of the water if I had to guess. Like, my speculation is that the PlayStation 5 is going to actually be true 4K gaming, 4K 60 FPS, in a console form factor, because with the Navi die size and the fact that they're trying to build Infinity Fabric into it and the power increase, we should actually be able to see like games running properly at super high resolutions, except for, we're not going to get Final Fantasy VII until 2025. So that means that's going to be on the PS6. Reece, what are we getting with the PS6? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Final Fantasy VII isn't coming to the PS5. It sucks. So to TLDW the entire thing, we're seeing that there's tons of information that's coming out about the new architectures that AMD is building. So it looks like it could be very well a Zen Plus or a Zen 2 CPU that we're seeing combined with a Navi GPU to actually produce the graphical capabilities on the next gen consoles, which is something that I'm super excited about. There's tons of technical detail that's going into this. We don't have a whole lot of information about, what this is practically going to mean, what the PlayStation 5 is going to look at, but we do have really good indication of what the type of hardware is going to be. And so I'm fairly confident. I mean, with where everything is at right now, with the fact that the Xbox One X can actually bring you 4K, faked 4K 60 FPS gaming, that if Navi actually has the size reduction, the performance increase, and the power reduction with the GPU scaling that we're expecting, 4K 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5 should be something that could be easily done, even on next-gen games like Cyberpunk 2077, which is apparently going to be revealed at E3. Did you see that announcement? I'm so excited. Cyberpunk 2077. So just quoting the article a bit more, they talk about how the 7nm tech is expected to be used in next-gen AMD products, which just makes sense. We're not going to stay on the current gen. And AMD's APU is the chip powering the PS4 right now, as well as the Xbox X. That partnership has certainly been successful for Sony, with the PS4 outselling the Xbox One handedly, so it would make sense for AMD tech to be used in the PS5 if these TSMC chips are used for the PS5. It opens the door for the next generation gaming console to perform on a similar level as a gaming PC, which I think is something that we've all been, we have the PC master race. Everybody likes to quote how like my 1080 Ti can absolutely blow the Xbox One X out of the water. But as we get to this place where die sizes decrease, power consumption decreases, the amount of scaling that you can do on these cores increases, this actually lends better to a console environment where you have a dedicated gaming setup, because that just, it's a contained environment. This is why I play all of my games on PlayStation, because it's all of a contained environment. I don't have to mess around with any settings after I've already been working on my computer all day and I've already broken it because the RAM isn't compatible with the motherboard and all of these programs that I'm installing ruins everything. I can just sit down and play God of War, okay? That's what I want. As the technology of GPUs and these APUs that AMD is developing shrinks and gets more powerful with less power consumption, it's easier to stick this in a home theater setup where you just have to tuck it away and you don't need that much breathing room because they're not putting out that much heat. And I think that's one of the biggest, barriers to why we still have consoles, is as small as we do. They could obviously make them a lot bigger. They can make them look like PCs and they could perform like PCs. It's just the fact that the size, the cost to actually produce those things, and then the power consumption is just way too freaking high for most people to have this in an area next to their TV where they're trying to enjoy quiet entertainment, and then, the friggin' PC next to it's blaringly loud. But as things come down in size and price and heat generation, we could see something that's more like a notebook form factor actually perform incredibly. Like my Whoopware laptop has a GTX 1070 in it, It's thinner than a PS4, but it performs better than a PS4. So if we can get that type of technology into a PS5, then I think that we could start seeing some revolutions in the fact that console gaming is going to outpace PC gaming. Anyways, I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that this is a possibility? Do you think that AMD could actually bring desktop-like performance to the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox 2? Or whatever the crap we're going to call it. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below or in the community Discord. There's a link for that in the video description. If you're going to be playing anything on consoles or PCs or otherwise, you can pick them up using our affiliate codes that are in the video description. It gives us a small kickback from wherever you pick it up, and it doesn't cost you an extra cent, whether that be games, consoles, you know, graphics cards, RAM, all of that good stuff. It all helps us out. We also have a community Patreon where you can support everything we're doing here at UFD Tech. We're trying to keep growing, keep expanding, produce more videos, produce higher quality videos. That's all of the type of stuff that we're trying to get done here. And so if you want to be part of the team, you'd be more than welcome to sign up for that Patreon. Anyways, be sure to smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.